Evan accepted the house-sitting job because the message promised easy money and no work. Just stay inside and make sure the house stayed locked at night, which sounded simple until the moment he stepped through the front door and felt the air change. Thick and cold, like the house had been holding its breath waiting for him. The door closed behind him on its own with a slow, heavy sound that echoed too long. Evan laughed nervously and dropped his bag, telling himself old houses settle and make noise. But the silence that followed felt wrong, too complete, like the house was listening. Every room smelled faintly of dust and something metallic, and the hallway stretched straight ahead, longer than it should have been, with a single door at the end painted darker than the others. Evan remembered the owner's warning, never open the last door. No matter what you hear, he brushed it off and explored. The living room furniture was covered in white sheets that shifted slightly as he walked past. Even though there was no breeze, the windows showed the outside clearly. But when he waved his hand at the glass, his reflection didn't copy him right away, lagging by a second before smiling back. Evan stepped away quickly, his heart beating faster. He tried using his phone but had no signal at all, not even emergency service. And when he checked the time, every clock in the house showed 11:59 and refused to move. The first sound came from the walls, a low scratching like fingernails dragging slowly through wood, moving behind him, following him from room to room. Evan called out, asking if anyone was there, and the scratching stopped immediately, then resumed right behind him. He ran upstairs and entered the bedroom, locking the door, his breath shaking, and that was when the whisper started, soft and close, speaking directly into his ear, even though no one stood near him. It said his name clearly, slowly, like it was tasting the sound of it. Evan spun around, but the room was empty, except the walls were covered in faint marks he hadn't noticed before, lines carved deep into the paint. Names layered over each other so thick they looked like scars. Evan stepped closer and felt sick when he saw some names crossed out violently. Others repeated again and again. And near the bottom, carved shallow and fresh, was his own name. Evan backed away and tripped, hitting the floor hard. The lights went out instantly, plunging the house into darkness so complete it felt solid. The whisper returned louder now, telling him the house remembers everyone who enters, telling him the house keeps pieces of them. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside his room, slow and heavy, dragging slightly like something learning how legs work. Evan screamed for help, but the sound didn't travel far, like the walls swallowed it. The footsteps stopped outside his door and the handle turned once, then again testing. The whisper promised safety if he opened it, promised rest, promised he wouldn't feel afraid anymore. Evan covered his ears, but the voice came from inside his head now, showing him flashes of people trapped inside the walls. Faces pushing through plaster, mouths opening silently, begging, warning. The knocking began, slow and patient, each knock perfectly spaced, the sound vibrating through the floor and into his bones. Suddenly everything went quiet again, and in that silence Evan heard a sound that froze his blood. A deep lock clicking open far down the hallway, the forbidden door at the end slowly creaking as something inside finally stepped out, breathing loudly, happily, because the house had a new guest and it was ready to feed again.